April 17, 1940. Elizabeth, New Jersey. The morning fog clings to the brick facades of the Singer Manufacturing Company, a towering testament to American ingenuity. Inside, the rhythmic hum of sewing machines fills the air, their needles dancing in perfect synchrony. Workers, many of them women, move with practiced grace, threading fabric through the mechanical giants that have defined the company's legacy. At the heart of this bustling factory, a quiet revolution is about to unfold. The U.S. War Department, recognizing the precision and skill inherent in the sewing machine industry, has issued an educational order to Singer: produce 500 M1911A1 pistols. This is not a full-scale manufacturing contract, but a challenge to see if a civilian company can transition into the realm of wartime armaments. The workers are unaware of the monumental shift ahead. For now, they focus on their tasks, unaware that their expertise in crafting delicate machines will soon be applied to something far more lethal. As the day progresses, the factory's overseers begin to prepare. Blueprints for the M1911A1 are laid out, and discussions about tooling and training commence. The challenge is daunting: to produce a firearm that meets the stringent standards of the U.S. military. The air is thick with anticipation. The workers continue their duties, unaware that the world outside is on the brink of war. In the coming months, this factory will become a crucible where sewing machines are transformed into instruments of war. The hum of sewing machines begins to fade, replaced by a new rhythm: metal against metal, the sharp clink of precision tools shaping steel instead of fabric. It is May 1942, and the United States is fully engaged in a global war. Elizabeth, New Jersey, remains quiet from the street, but inside the Singer factory, a storm of industrial transformation is underway. Workers gather around blueprints pinned to bulletin boards, tracing the outlines of pistols rather than sewing machines. The M1911A1 is no gentle machine. It is a weapon of war, demanding exacting tolerances, flawless assembly, and unwavering attention to detail. Every spring, every barrel, every grip panel must be perfect. The War Department has made it clear: substandard production is unacceptable. John Keating, a foreman who had spent 20 years overseeing domestic sewing machine production, paces along the line, clipboard in hand. "We're not just changing what we make," he tells his crew. "We're changing how we think. A misaligned screw here could mean a life lost over there." His words hang heavy in the air, echoing through the cavernous halls where the scent of oil now overpowers the familiar perfume of polished wood and metal from sewing machines. Training begins in earnest. Engineers from Springfield Armory arrive to instruct the workforce on firearm tolerances, threading, and fitting procedures. Women who once threaded bobbins now learn to file slides and chambers. Their hands, delicate yet precise from years of sewing, prove adept at the new task, turning over finely machined parts, checking spring tensions, and aligning triggers with meticulous care. One worker, Maria Henderson, recalls the first test run. "The first pistol came off the line," she said years later, "and I could hear the difference immediately. It wasn't the soft click of the sewing machine, it was hard, crisp, purposeful. It was alive." By midsummer, the factory has been transformed almost beyond recognition. Assembly lines have been rerouted, conveyor belts repurposed, and machinery retrofitted for the demands of arms production. The walls are now adorned with posters reminding workers of their responsibility. Precision saves lives, and every M1911 counts. Despite the change, the workforce retains a sense of pride. They understand the stakes. Every pistol produced here may one day be carried by a soldier in the jungles of the Pacific, the deserts of North Africa, or the frozen fields of Europe. They are contributing to a war effort in a way they could never have imagined while sewing hems and collars. Amid the clanging of machinery, you can almost hear the heartbeat of the factory itself, straining under the weight of its new purpose. Workers move in practiced synchronization, a ballet of metal and human effort. Each pistol slides along the line, inspected, tested, and refined. The first batch, 500 pistols, is completed by late 1942 on time, on spec, and ready for military inspection. The military officers arriving at Singer are impressed. "This is exceptional work," one reports, carefully handling a polished M1911A1. "Precision like this is rare outside Springfield." The praise is deserved, but the factory does not pause to celebrate. The war demands scale, not ceremony. As 1943 approaches, Singer expands its orders. The factory is now producing thousands of pistols, components for .45 caliber weapons, and spare parts. The transition that seemed daunting has become routine. Workers who had once specialized in sewing machine precision now operate like seasoned gunsmiths. The line between domestic industry and war production has blurred completely. Outside, the world continues its tumult. Soldiers overseas depend on the reliability of the very pistols crafted in this former sewing machine factory. Each click, each chambered round, is a testament to the quiet, relentless labor happening behind these brick walls. Inside the factory, the sense of purpose is palpable. The noise, the heat, the smell of machine oil, they are no longer mere byproducts of production. They are the soundtrack of a country mobilizing, of civilians rising to meet the demands of total war. Every assembled pistol carries with it the skill, dedication, and sacrifice of those who toiled in Elizabeth, New Jersey, far from the front lines, yet intimately connected to the fate of the men who will carry their work into combat. The transition from sewing machines to M1911A1 pistols was more than a change of tools, it was a metamorphosis of skill, mindset, and purpose. By late 1942, the factory floor is unrecognizable. Where once the rhythmic hum of domestic machinery filled the air, now the staccato clatter of precision machining dominates, punctuated by the occasional hiss of compressed air and the metallic ping of finished parts striking inspection tables. In one corner of the plant, a team of women, their sleeves rolled up to avoid oil stains, work on the delicate assembly of triggers and sears. The attention to detail is painstaking. Each trigger must operate within exact tolerances, each sear spring tension tested repeatedly. A slight error, a fraction of a millimeter out of alignment, could render the pistol unsafe in combat. Henry Larkin, a senior engineer brought in from Springfield Armory, supervises the assembly lines. His eyes are sharp, scanning every station for deviations. "We are not here to make something pretty," he tells the crew, his voice low but firm. "We make something that will save lives or take them. That is the weight of every decision you make today." His words instill both pride and apprehension. The learning curve is steep. Workers accustomed to fabrics and thread must now navigate hardened steel, recoil springs, and barrel rifling. The precision of sewing machine manufacture does help, yet the tolerance levels for firearms are unforgiving. There are misfires during initial testing, minor imperfections that require rework, and repeated quality inspections. Every error is a lesson, every correction a small triumph. Despite the challenges, a sense of camaraderie develops among the workforce. Long hours in sweltering, oil-scented halls forge bonds. Workers share advice, assist one another with alignment jigs, and cheer quietly when a pistol passes the rigorous proof tests. Outside, air raid sirens occasionally cut through the suburban calm, a reminder that the war is close, even if the front lines are thousands of miles away. By the spring of 1943, Singer has scaled its production to thousands of M1911A1 pistols. The factory has become a model of wartime conversion, how a civilian enterprise can pivot to meet military needs without compromising quality. Military inspectors frequently visit, scrutinizing each pistol and component with clinical precision. Many are surprised at the level of craftsmanship: polished slides, perfectly aligned barrels, smooth trigger pulls. The pistols bear no cosmetic extravagance, every detail is functional, every finish deliberate. The impact of this work begins to ripple outward. Soldiers in Europe and the Pacific, often relying on their issued sidearms in moments of desperate combat, carry weapons forged in a factory that had once produced household sewing machines. Letters and reports from the front occasionally remark on the reliability of these firearms, a silent testament to the unseen labor back in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Inside the plant, morale is high but tempered with fatigue. The relentless pace takes its toll. Calloused hands, aching backs, and long nights under harsh lighting. Yet workers press on, driven by duty, pride, and the knowledge that their craftsmanship has immediate and tangible consequences in the war effort. One morning, a shipment of pistols leaves the factory bound for the Ordnance Department. Forklifts hum, pallets are strapped, and men in uniforms check manifests. The pistols, neatly boxed and labeled, are no longer just steel and springs. They are symbols of industrial ingenuity transformed into tools of survival and combat. Each box carries the weight of the factory's collective effort, the labor of countless hands, and the discipline of a civilian workforce turned armament artisans. By mid-1943, Singer's contribution is fully recognized. Articles in trade publications highlight the company's innovation. Military authorities praise the quality, and workers quietly take pride in the knowledge that their efforts directly support the men in uniform. The factory has proven a crucial lesson of the era, that civilian industry, when properly mobilized, can pivot with astounding effectiveness to meet the demands of total war. Yet for all the recognition, the work is far from glamorous. Inside, the factory smells of machine oil, grease, and hot metal. The clatter of hammers, presses, and lathes provides a constant background soundtrack, a rhythmic heartbeat echoing the seriousness of the mission. Every worker, from line assembly to quality inspection, understands that mistakes have consequences. And every success contributes to lives saved or missions accomplished far from the factory floor. By late 1943, the Singer Manufacturing Company has fully integrated its war production into the very fabric of its operations. Sewing machines still exist, but they are secondary now, a reminder of what the company once was. The focus is clear: precision, reliability, and contribution to the war effort. The transformation is complete. The factory that once clothed America in domestic convenience now equips its soldiers with the means to fight and survive. By autumn of 1943, the pistols rolling off Singer's lines are subjected to their first full-scale military evaluations. The Ordnance Department has arranged a series of rigorous tests at nearby proving grounds, designed to push the M1911A1 south to their limits. Soldiers, armorers, and engineers gather in the chill morning air, their breath visible in the October fog, the smell of gunpowder hanging faintly as pistols are unpacked and inspected. Sergeant Thomas Grady, a veteran marksman recently returned from North Africa, is assigned to conduct accuracy and reliability trials. He picks up a Singer-produced M1911, weighing it in his calloused hands, noting the polished slide and the precise engagement of the safety. "Feels solid," he mutters to himself, and then nods to the range officers. The first round clicks into the chamber. A sharp report echoes across the proving ground. The recoil is firm, controlled, familiar. He fires 10 more rounds. Every shot lands within the expected grouping. The pistols are subjected to more than accuracy tests. They endure repeated disassembly and reassembly, exposure to dust, mud, and water, and high-temperature stress trials meant to simulate tropical combat conditions. The workforce at Singer had trained tirelessly to ensure that every component would withstand abuse, and the results astonish even the ordnance engineers. Springs remain true, slides function without jamming, and triggers maintain their smoothness after hundreds of cycles. Inside the factory, the news of the successful trials spreads quickly. John Keating walks through the assembly lines, observing workers who continue their precise work, inspecting barrels, aligning sights, and testing triggers. He stops beside Maria Henderson, who is carefully fitting a sear spring. "It's passing every test," he says quietly, a rare smile breaking his usually stern demeanor. "You all did this. You turned sewing machine precision into weapons that work in the worst conditions. That's no small feat. For many workers, this acknowledgement is more than pride. It is validation." The painstaking attention to detail, the countless hours spent perfecting tolerances, filing parts by hand, and ensuring every assembly meets specifications has paid off. A civilian workforce trained in domestic precision has created instruments of war that match or exceed the expectations of military standards. At the proving grounds, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Pearson examines the pistols alongside his officers. He notes the finish on the slides, the tight engagement of the barrel lugs, and the smoothness of the triggers. "These are among the finest sidearms we've seen," he declares, turning to the officers who accompany him. "And they come from a factory that, until a year ago, produced sewing machines." That's the ingenuity of American industry at its best. The evaluation also includes field simulation exercises. Soldiers are instructed to carry the pistols for days through rugged terrain, exposing them to mud, dust, and rain. Reports return with minimal failures. The pistols remain reliable, accurate, and robust. Letters from the front will later cite these weapons as dependable companions in moments of life or death, a testament not just to engineering, but to the human skill and care embedded in each piece. Meanwhile, back in Elizabeth, the factory continues to refine processes. Any minor defects discovered during testing are analyzed meticulously and adjustments are made. Tolerances are tightened, tools recalibrated, and new jigs installed. The culture of continuous improvement becomes a defining characteristic of Singer's wartime operations. By winter of 1943, production has scaled dramatically. Thousands of pistols and components are shipped to depots, armored divisions, and infantry units across multiple theaters of war. Each crate carries not only firearms but also the legacy of civilian ingenuity harnessed for military needs. Workers, aware of the broader impact of their efforts, continue to labor long hours, their motivation fueled by the knowledge that every pistol contributes to the survival of American troops abroad. Even minor details receive attention. Barrel alignment is rechecked before every shipment, trigger pulls measured repeatedly, and each slide fitted to its specific frame to ensure consistent performance. It is this obsessive precision, honed over decades of sewing machine manufacture, that allows Singer to produce sidearms capable of enduring the extremes of war. In these months, the factory transforms into a crucible of American industry and ingenuity. Civilian expertise meets wartime necessity in a way that is both unexpected and essential. Each M1911A1 emerging from the production lines is more than steel and springs. It is a symbol of adaptation, skill and dedication, bridging the home front and the battlefield in a very tangible, very lethal way. By the close of 1943, the Singer factory has not merely converted to war production. It has mastered it. It stands as a testament to what can be achieved when a civilian workforce is mobilized, trained, and inspired, producing tools that will endure in the hands of those fighting across the globe. By early 1944, the fruits of Singer's industrial transformation begin to reach the front lines in significant numbers. The pistols, previously tested and certified at proving grounds, are now issued to soldiers in Europe, the Pacific, and North Africa. They arrive in wooden crates, carefully packed, and accompanied by inspector's notes verifying each pistol's serial number and quality. Private First Class William Bill Harris, a young infantryman in the 1st Infantry Division, recalls opening his first crate of sidearms. The smell of oiled metal hits him immediately, crisp and mechanical. He runs his thumb along the polished slide, pulling back the hammer and squeezing the trigger. Smooth, precise, dependable. You could tell the difference from the older models, he wrote later in letters home. These weren't just guns, they were made by people who cared about the fight. The battlefield soon proves the pistols. Reliability. Soldiers navigating mud-slick trenches, dense jungles, and urban ruins depend on their sidearms in moments where every second counts. Pistols do not jam, springs do not weaken. Even when dropped in mud or left in the rain, they continue to function. Reports from platoon commanders praise the weapons, noting that American troops can rely on them under conditions that would have challenged earlier, less precise models. Back in Elizabeth, the factory hums with the same relentless energy. Workers read letters sent from the front, sharing stories of pistols saving lives, deterring enemy attacks, or enabling soldiers to accomplish critical missions. These accounts bolster morale, but they also underscore the stakes. Each assembly line worker understands that a single misaligned part could mean the difference between life and death thousands of miles away. Supervisors maintain strict quality control. Each pistol undergoes multiple inspections, visual checks, mechanical tests, and final proofing before shipment. Lathes are calibrated daily, alignment jigs re-verified, and components measured with micrometers to thousandths of an inch. The same meticulous precision that once ensured perfectly balanced sewing machines now guarantees a soldier's sidearm will function flawlessly under extreme conditions. The factory's transformation also has broader implications for U.S. wartime industry. Singer becomes a model for how civilian manufacturing can be effectively repurposed for military production. Other companies take notice, sending teams to study workflows, training programs, and quality control techniques. The successful transition demonstrates that with proper planning, civilian expertise, and disciplined management, homefront industry can directly affect the outcome of battles fought thousands of miles away. Despite the successes, the factory workforce is not immune to fatigue. Long hours, loud machinery, and the constant weight of responsibility take a toll. Yet there is a shared sense of purpose. Lunchrooms are filled with quiet discussions of the front lines, whispers about letters from soldiers, and stories of pistols performing under fire. The human connection between maker and user permeates every corner of the plant. Military liaisons visit regularly, observing production and offering feedback. Occasionally, a pistol fails inspection and is returned for correction. These moments are met not with frustration but with renewed commitment. Adjustments are made, components reworked, and processes refined. The factory thrives on continuous improvement, turning each setback into an opportunity to perfect both technique and output. By mid-1944, the pace of production accelerates further. The Normandy landings, the push through France, and operations in the Pacific demand ever-increasing quantities of reliable sidearms. Singer's workforce rises to meet the challenge. The factory becomes a well-oiled machine, each worker's contribution synchronized with the next. Precision, speed, and attention to detail coexist in a delicate balance that defines wartime production excellence. For the men carrying the pistols, the connection is tangible but indirect. A soldier in the muddy fields of Normandy may never know the hands that crafted his sidearm, but every smooth trigger pull, every reliable shot, reflects countless hours of unseen labor. In letters and oral histories, veterans frequently remark on the dependability of their weapons, unaware that the same company that produced household sewing machines is responsible. Through all of this, the story of Singer underscores a broader truth of World War II. The war was not won solely on battlefields, but also in factories, workshops, and assembly lines across the nation. The skill, discipline, and dedication of civilians thousands of miles from the front played a direct role in sustaining soldiers and shaping victories. By late 1944, the factory has produced tens of thousands of pistols, each one a testament to American ingenuity, adaptability, and the quiet heroism of the home front. The transition from domestic sewing machines to instruments of war has been complete, and the men and women of Singer Manufacturing have proven that precision, dedication, and courage extend far beyond the battlefield. Inside the factory, the war effort leaves its mark not only on the assembly lines but on the people themselves. Workers, many of whom were young women stepping into industrial roles for the first time, now carry the weight of responsibility with a disciplined grace. Their hands are stained with machine oil, their arms sore from repetitive motions, but their eyes hold a quiet resolve. They are part of a chain that stretches from Elizabeth, New Jersey, to the jungles of the Pacific and the hedgerows of Normandy. Maria Henderson pauses at her station, holding a finished M1911A1 in her hands. She feels its weight, the smooth engagement of the safety, the crisp click of the hammer. "It's strange," she murmurs to a coworker. "A year ago this would have been fabric, thread, and buttons. Now this could save a life. Or take one." Her voice carries no pride or joy, just acknowledgement of the gravity of the work. Others share similar sentiments. Letters from soldiers describing the dependability of the pistols circulate quietly among supervisors, read aloud in hushed tones during breaks. Each letter is a reminder that the factory's work is not abstract. It has immediate, tangible consequences. Some workers feel a sense of connection to distant lives they will never meet, a bond forged by steel, springs, and shared purpose. The factory becomes a microcosm of wartime society. Roles shift, hierarchies adjust, and every skill counts. Engineers who once designed sewing machine components now calculate tolerances for firearm parts. Line supervisors who monitored fabric output now enforce meticulous quality standards for pistols. Even janitorial staff, moving silently through the halls, become crucial players. Oil spills, metal shavings, or misplaced parts could halt production or compromise quality. Outside the walls, the war continues with relentless intensity. On the beaches of Normandy, PFC William Harris carries the very pistol Maria assembled, gripping it during moments when the enemy is close, the sound of artillery shaking the ground beneath him. Across the Pacific, Marines in the Philippines rely on Singer pistols during close-quarters combat, the steel clicking with each chambered round. In every instance, the connection between the home front and battlefield is undeniable. Amidst these human stories, the factory evolves technically. Production lines are optimized, quality checks intensified, and new machining techniques are introduced. Even minor improvements in component tolerances or assembly methods can make the pistols more reliable under harsh conditions. Each change is documented, tested, and implemented with the precision of a military operation. By 1945, Singer has become a model for wartime industrial conversion. Other companies, from typewriter manufacturers to automobile plants, study their methods, learning how civilian industries can pivot to armament production efficiently and effectively. The lessons of Elizabeth, New Jersey, extend far beyond its city limits, influencing military logistics, production strategy, and industrial policy. Yet, amidst technical achievements, the human dimension remains central. Workers form lasting bonds, sharing the unique stress of wartime production. They joke quietly about missing sewing machines, reminisce about old routines, and comfort one another during moments of exhaustion. Their shared experience shapes a culture of resilience, dedication, and quiet pride that outlives the conflict itself. As the Allies push closer to victory in Europe and the Pacific, the pistols continue to flow from Singer's assembly lines. Each firearm, meticulously assembled and rigorously tested, carries with it the weight of countless human hours and the skills honed over decades. The factory is no longer just a building filled with machines. It is a living testament to the adaptability and perseverance of its workforce. Through these months, one truth becomes clear. Wars are fought not only with soldiers on the front lines but with precision, patience, and dedication thousands of miles away. Singer Manufacturing Company embodies this truth, transforming domestic labor into a force multiplier, ensuring that the men and women fighting abroad have weapons they can trust with their lives. As 1945 dawns, the Singer factory faces a new challenge: scale. The earlier orders for pistols, though significant, now seem modest compared to the demands of a global conflict reaching its climax. The U.S. military, preparing for final offensives in both Europe and the Pacific, requires tens of thousands of reliable sidearms, each produced to exacting specifications. The factory, which had once labored to craft 500 test pistols, must now operate at a scale previously unimaginable. Expansion is immediate. Entire floors of the plant are repurposed, conveyor systems extended, and additional machinery installed. Teams of machinists work in shifts around the clock, their movements synchronized, efficient, precise. Engineers develop new jigs and fixtures to maintain uniformity across thousands of pistols. Even minor components, like sear springs and firing pins, are standardized to minimize errors and accelerate assembly. The human element is stretched to its limits. Workers endure long hours under harsh lighting, their faces streaked with grease and sweat. Yet the sense of purpose drives them forward. Each pistol leaving the line is not just a product, it is a potential lifesaver, a tangible contribution to the war effort. The hum of machinery becomes a kind of rhythm, a heartbeat of industrial determination echoing across Elizabeth, New Jersey. Supervisors, once focused solely on quality, now also contend with logistics. Shipping schedules are critical. Pistols must reach ports and distribution depots without delay, each crate accompanied by precise manifests. Any misstep could disrupt a chain of supply extending thousands of miles to troops in combat zones. It is an intricate ballet of production and coordination, and every worker plays a role. Even small victories are celebrated quietly. When a batch passes final inspection without a single defect, whispers of relief ripple through the assembly lines. Maria Henderson, leaning against a machine after a 12-hour shift, allows herself a brief smile. "We're making a difference," she murmurs. Even if no one sees it, someone's life depends on what we do here today. The factory also integrates lessons learned from the field. Feedback from soldiers and military inspectors informs adjustments, minor tweaks to grip textures, lubrication standards, and trigger tensions. The line between production floor and battlefield is surprisingly thin. Every observation in combat prompts recalibration back home, a continuous loop of improvement that ensures each M1911A1 is as dependable as possible. Outside the factory, the world is transforming rapidly. Allied forces advance in Europe, pushing back German troops across the Rhine. In the Pacific, island by island falls to U.S. Marines, each engagement reliant on soldiers carrying reliable sidearms. It is here, in the hands of those who face life or death decisions daily, that the factory's work proves its ultimate worth. A pistol crafted with care in New Jersey may be the difference between survival and catastrophe on a jungle trail, an urban street, or a snow-swept hill. Despite exhaustion and the relentless pace, the workforce demonstrates remarkable resilience. Engineers innovate to prevent fatigue-induced errors, rotating staff to maintain precision. Operators develop informal routines, small rituals that ensure consistency, such as double-checking serial numbers aloud or inspecting barrels under specific lighting conditions. Even minor procedural habits carry immense significance, transforming human endurance into industrial reliability. By mid-1945, Singer's production capacity reaches its peak. Tens of thousands of pistols have been shipped, each passing through multiple quality checks. The factory is not only meeting military demand, it is exceeding it, establishing a benchmark for what civilian industry can achieve under the pressures of total war. The M1911A1 South, once unfamiliar to the workforce, have become a symbol of industrial mastery, of a civilian enterprise fully mobilized for a global conflict. And yet, amidst the clatter of machines and the flow of metal, a quiet awareness permeates the halls. Victory is near, and the war may soon end. There is anticipation, relief, and a subtle unspoken pride. Every hand that has touched a barrel, every eye that has inspected a trigger, has played a role in shaping the outcome. The pistols themselves, silent and lethal, are reminders that industrial skill and human diligence are as vital to victory as courage on the battlefield. August 1945. The war that had consumed the world for 6 years is finally drawing to a close. News from overseas reaches the factory in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Letters, telegrams, and radio broadcasts confirming that Japan has surrendered, and Europe has been liberated. There is jubilation, relief, and an almost tangible sense of disbelief. The same workers who once assembled delicate sewing machines now stand in a factory filled with the tools of war, having contributed directly to the outcome of a global conflict. Inside the plant, machines continue to hum, but there is a different tone in the air. The pace of production slows as final orders are completed and military contracts are fulfilled. Workers who had labored tirelessly for years begin to reflect on their unprecedented experience. Maria Henderson runs her hands over a finished M1911A1, its steel cool beneath her fingers. "It feels strange," she whispers, "to know that something I helped make has been out there in someone's hands, deciding life or death." Her eyes carry the weight of those months and years' pride mingled with a quiet recognition of the gravity of their work. Military inspectors and company executives visit one final time to acknowledge the achievement. Colonel Richard Pearson, now reviewing the factory's output since its conversion, remarks, "This facility has set a standard, not just for production but for what civilian industry can contribute to national defense. You've proven that skill, precision, and dedication can be transformed into something far larger than any of us imagined. The human impact is equally profound. Many workers, particularly women, have developed skills and confidence that reshape their lives beyond the war. Industrial training, leadership experience, and technical expertise gained on the factory floor open new opportunities in post-war America. The transition from domestic labor to wartime production has altered their personal trajectories, forging resilience, discipline, and pride. Singer Manufacturing Company itself emerges transformed. The wartime conversion demonstrates the flexibility and potential of American industry in the modern era. Other civilian factories, having observed Singer's success, adopt similar strategies, integrating precision engineering, rigorous quality control, and adaptive production methods into post-war manufacturing. The legacy of this wartime pivot endures long after the last pistol leaves the assembly line. For the men who carried the pistols in battle, the connection back to Elizabeth remains largely invisible, yet it is tangible. Veterans recall reliable sidearms that functioned without fail under extreme conditions, and oral histories capture stories of M1911A1 South saved from jamming in jungles, deserts, and cities. These accounts, though often anecdotal, underscore the unseen human effort behind each weapon. Every pistol bore the imprint of a civilian workforce transformed into an essential element of the military apparatus. By the end of 1945, Singer gradually resumes its peacetime operations. Sewing machines return to the forefront, yet the lessons of wartime production remain. Processes refined during the war, the emphasis on quality control, and the knowledge that civilian labor could meet the highest military standards all leave a lasting imprint. The factory is a bridge between peace and conflict, a testament to adaptability and the capacity for industrial ingenuity. In the decades that follow, collectors, historians, and enthusiasts recognize the significance of Singer-produced M1911A1 South. These firearms are more than relics. They are symbols of a nation's capacity to mobilize industry and skill in service of freedom. Museums preserve them and veterans recount their reliability, cementing the enduring legacy of the people and processes behind each piece. As the factory's doors close for the final wartime shift, the echoes of hammers, presses, and meticulous assembly linger. The story of Singer Manufacturing Company, its transformation from domestic sewing machines to precision-crafted firearms, is remembered not just in historical records, but in the lives of those who worked there and the soldiers who relied upon their work. It is a story of adaptability, ingenuity, and quiet heroism far from the battlefield. In the years following World War II, attention naturally gravitates to the battles, the generals, and the soldiers on the front lines. Yet for those who understand the full scope of the war effort, the significance of factories like Singer in Elizabeth, New Jersey, cannot be overstated. The men and women who transformed sewing machines into M1911A1 pistols represent a quiet, indispensable form of heroism, one measured not in medals or battlefield exploits, but in precision, dedication, and the countless lives indirectly preserved by their labor. Veterans who carried Singer pistols frequently recount stories of reliability under pressure. A sergeant in the Pacific Theater, speaking years later to a historical society, described his sidearm, "I never had a jam, never once. In mud, rain, or after being dropped, it worked every time. I didn't know who made it, but someone in New Jersey was keeping me alive." Such anecdotes underscore the intimate connection between the home front and battlefield, revealing that war is fought not only with courage and strategy, but also with skill, discipline, and unseen human labor thousands of miles away. Back in Elizabeth, local historians document the factory's transformation. Oral histories capture the voices of workers, recounting long shifts, grueling precision, and the emotional weight of producing instruments of war. "We were proud," Maria Henderson recalls decades later. "But it was also terrifying. Every piece mattered. Someone's life depended on it." These testimonies ensure that the human story of the fears, sacrifices, and ingenuity endures alongside the technical achievements. Singer's wartime legacy also resonates in industrial and military history. The factory became a case study in efficient civilian to military conversion, demonstrating how specialized craftsmanship can be repurposed for total war. Techniques developed for firearm production, rigorous quality control, precision machining, and worker training set new benchmarks for post-war manufacturing in both civilian and defense sectors. The lessons learned at Singer influence industries long after the final M1911A1 rolls off the assembly line. Yet perhaps the most enduring memory is personal. Families of workers cherish photographs and letters, passing down stories of parents, siblings, and neighbors who played a critical role in the war effort. The pride of having contributed to victory, even far from the front lines, is palpable. Every pistol, every polished barrel, every precisely fitted trigger carries with it the imprint of these ordinary Americans performing extraordinary work. Museums and collectors now preserve Singer-produced M1911A1 pistols, not just as firearms but as artifacts of industrial ingenuity and collective effort. They serve as tangible reminders that victory in World War II was a nationwide endeavor, dependent on both battlefield heroics and home front dedication. Historians emphasize that without such industrial conversions, the supply of reliable sidearms could have faltered, impacting the effectiveness of American troops overseas. As the decades pass, the factory itself evolves. Sewing machines return to production, and the roar of presses for firearms fades into memory. But the story of how a civilian company, rooted in domestic industry, pivoted to supply weapons with precision, reliability, and excellence remains a compelling example of ingenuity, adaptability, and quiet courage. It is a narrative of ordinary people answering an extraordinary call, their contributions echoing across time. In commemorations of World War II, the role of factories like Singer is increasingly acknowledged. Plaques, exhibitions, and documentaries celebrate the efforts of those who labored unseen, often overlooked, yet whose work directly supported soldiers in combat. Their legacy is one of dedication, skill, and the understanding that even far from the front lines, ordinary hands can shape the course of history.